Ladies and gentlemen, time to stop talking about preview stuff. Mike, we have made it. We have finally made it to game week. Before we get to any of those questions, how excited are you?
I am so excited. Auburn kicks off the season versus Baylor Friday night at 8 p.m. on Fox. The SEC on Fox has a nasty ring to it,
Man, it feels
but
weird. It feels weird.
that's what we have this week. It's going to be fun. Hugh Freeze talked in his opening presser this week about the game, about what that preparation is like on what is a tiny bit of a short week. They had 2 weeks to prepare, so easy adjustment for them in week one, but they adjust their in-game, in-week cadence a little bit playing on a Friday night. This is a game Auburn has to be ready for, and I think fans are ready for it.
You know what? We're going to dig right into it. Hey, look, it is Friday, but at least this weird schedule is towards the beginning of the season. On paper, though, whether it be Auburn's offense versus Baylor's defense or Baylor's offense against Auburn's defense, what are we looking at? What is a key matchup that has to happen?
Right now, it's the Auburn wide receivers versus the Baylor DBs. Look, this was the ninth best DB group in the Big 12 last year. So they defended the pass worse than 8 teams in their conference. This should be not necessarily an easy task for the Auburn wide receivers, but it's a matchup that they should win. Can they win those one-on-ones? Can they be where Jackson Arnold needs them to be? And can they make big plays down the field to keep Baylor on their heels in their own stadium? That's going to be the question. All eyes are going to be on Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton Rex. Those guys got voted first team preseason All SEC and third team preseason All SEC, respectively. Now, I voted for Cam Coleman, as did a lot of our fellow members of the media, since he did make first team. But Eric Singleton, not having taken a snap in the SEC, coming in and being voted third team all season SEC, it just, I think it points to the type of talent that Auburn has. And that doesn't even account for top 30 overall player Perry Thompson, who should be opposite of Cam Coleman on the outside, and then Malcolm Simmons, who had a breakout year as a top 150 overall player as a true freshman last year in Hugh Freeze's system. He was a just below 500-yard receiver this year. I think Auburn has multiple 800-plus yard receivers this year, and it starts week one. Who's going to be the guy that breaks out for triple-digit yards versus Baylor? Is it going to be Cam Coleman? Is it going to be Eric Singleton? Is it going to be maybe Malcolm Simmons from the slot, or Horatio Fields, the transfer from Wake Forest? The point is, they have multiple guys who can get this done. I think we have to watch that matchup, and I think it's going to be the one that decides the game for Auburn.
You know who's smiling from ear to ear is Jackson Arnold, who had everyone injured in his Oklahoma wide receiver room, and now he has all these weapons for Auburn as well. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch. Let's also talk about the defense for Auburn. They have to stop the 1,000-yard rusher for Baylor as well. So it shows that Bryson Washington is a guy who made first team All Big 12. But defensively, DJ Durkin has shown that his guys are ready to rise up to any challenge. What are you looking for in DJ Durkin's defense in week one?
Are they going to be able to attack off the edge? Keldrick Falk, another preseason All SEC first team selection. He's got to be a star in this one for Auburn. He's got to get pressure on Sawyer Robertson, and he's got to force him into some bad decisions in this one. Look, Sawyer Robertson, 3,000-yard passer last year in the Big 12, albeit only at like a 62.2% completion percentage. So he can be got. He had a worse touchdown to interception ratio than Jackson Arnold did last year at Oklahoma, with no wide receivers and no O-line. So he can be rattled, and you can get to him if you're Auburn. Will they get to him? That's the question. So I'm going to be watching him, and I'm going to be watching DeMarcus Riddick there at linebacker, the other true freshman that came in, and he had a very heralded freshman campaign on DJ Durkin's defense. Can he break out? He had some sacks dead to rights last year, Rex, that if he plays with a little bit more control, it's just the experience. That's all it is for DeMarcus. It's harnessing all that supreme athleticism that we've seen in year one and channeling that the right way to help not only sack the quarterback, but contain the backs and contain the quarterback in the backfield and make sure that those guys have to make plays from the pocket. It's going to be fun to watch those two guys, I think, work. And then there's obviously the secondary that is just loaded with talent, led by Kay and Lee. These guys are going to do a lot of work this season, and Auburn should be a top 15 overall defense.
Now, switching to Auburn's quarterback, first time Jackson Arnold is going to be leading the blue and orange as QB1 for the Auburn Tigers. What do you think he needs to do? He'll be in a hostile environment. I know Baylor may not be like Texas A&M or Texas or any of these super major brands from the Lone Star State, but Baylor's fan base out in Waco, they love their Baylor Bears, and it can get pretty rowdy out there. What do you think he needs to do to be successful in Waco?
Look, it's all about poise. That's what it comes down to. Can he be poised on the road? What happens when he makes a mistake? That first mistake when it hits, how does he respond? You have to have what they call amnesia as a quarterback when it comes to making mistakes. You have to forget it and you got to move on to the next play. This is just going to come down to, and Hugh Freeze talked about it in his opening presser. Wants to see Jackson Arnold hang in the pocket a little bit more, but he wants to balance that athleticism that Jackson has with his ability to be able to hang in the pocket. Jackson's got to do a good job of knowing when to use his athleticism to get out of trouble and when to stay in the pocket and deliver the football. So the quarterbacks that we've seen come through Auburn that did that well have been gangbusters, man, like Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, very athletic guys who could also throw the ball, and they had to balance whether to throw or hang in the pocket and let a play develop. Now, if Jackson Arnold can go through his reads and be patient with these wide receivers, sometimes it's just an extra quarter of a second there, Rex, is all it takes to hang in there and deliver the football. I think he's going to be okay in this one. A lot of his confidence issues have been overblown this offseason. I don't think that Jackson Arnold lacked confidence. I think that he lacked confidence in his situation at Oklahoma. But since he's been at Auburn, I think he's been supremely confident, and I think that'll show Friday night.
And this is now year three. This is the year that Hugh Freeze has built up to, but you can't win them all unless you win the first one. That good old coaching phrase right there, that good old coaching cliche. But how could this game set up Auburn for success down the line? Because you've mentioned in multiple conversations, this is one of the most favorable schedules Auburn has had in a long time. How could this game set up the rest of the season for Auburn?
Well, you win this game, it's a 3-0 start to the season, and it takes the pressure off those first three SEC games. Auburn opens their SEC schedule at Texas A&M, then I'm sorry, at Oklahoma, then at Texas A&M, and then Georgia at home. So if you beat Baylor, you just have to win one of your first three SEC games to be 4-2 headed into that next stretch that sees Missouri come to the Plains. You've got Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Mercer. All those games right now, I've got Auburn favored in, as does a lot of the experts. So that's potentially 5 straight wins right there if you're in stride and hitting all cylinders after Georgia. But if you lose to Baylor, you're probably looking at 3-3 at best headed into Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mercer, and then you got to win all 5 of those just to get to 8 games, 8 wins headed into the Iron Bowl. So if you're Auburn, you want to be 4-2 after those first 6 games. That starts with winning at Baylor, because look, is it possible that Auburn could lose to Baylor and then win 2 of their first 3 SEC games? That would involve either winning 2 games on the road to open your SEC slate, or winning one and beating Georgia for the first time since 2017. That's a very tall task. I would rather see them just beat Baylor, and then anything you do after that, extra credit.
You know what? After all of this, though, we're finally here at football season. Thank goodness. Mike, before we wrap up, we can feel the energy going through the roof here. Where can people find your work at the War Rapport? And again, you're not only covering an SEC team this season, are you?
We are growing over at Locked On UCF. Go follow us over there on YouTube, but at the War Report on every social media platform, TW Report on TikTok. Follow me at Mike Gittens on Twitter, at Mike Gittens _ on Instagram. Lots of great content coming out from all the socials. And certainly we hope Auburn gives us more positive storylines to talk about this season.
That part right there, because it could be another long season. We've had enough of that on the plains. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, my friend, and happy game week.